issues persons 50 and over confront. It also provides expert opinions on how we can improve the quality of our lives as we get older. That's Coming of Age, this and every Thursday during Nationwide This Morning at 6:51 a.m.
Every day, Jamaicans have something to say. In the group chats, on social media, in the streets, there's a place where it all comes together. The comment section. This is not a lecture. This is not a call-in show. This is the hottest topics of the day, filtered through real opinions, real WhatsApp messages, real voice notes, real reactions. You agree, disagree, sound off, text it, voice note it, debate it. Comments section, Monday to Friday from 7 to 7:30 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Do you have a consumer-related issue? Want to learn more about matters concerning you as a consumer? Well, keep it locked to Nationwide 90 FM for the Consumer Hour with me, Nora Gay Banton, weekdays from 9 to 10 a.m. For all your consumer-centric matters, stay tuned to the Consumer Hour on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Ready to tackle that building project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for building supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Robeanne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
In Nationwide News at this hour, the government ends medical cooperation program with Cuba.
Finance Minister defends the special consumption tax on sweetened non-alcoholic beverages.
And the ministry is keeping a close eye on the ongoing conflict in the Middle East and its potential impact on the budget.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness warns that penalties will be imposed if Hurricane Melissa housing grants are not used for their intended purpose.
So if you receive the grant and then we come and check and nothing has been done to the roof, then that's cause for action.
3 children die in tragic circumstances in the country in the past 4 days.
In news from the rest of the world, Hurricane Melissa name retired after devastating impact on Jamaica.
Trump fires Kristi Noem as Homeland Security Secretary.
In sports, India beats England in high-scoring thriller to book ticket into ICC T20 World Cup final.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, Finance Minister Fayval Williams defended the implementation of a special consumption tax on sweetened non-alcoholic beverages after questioning from opposition spokesperson on education Damian Crawford. You'll hear the full exchange along with other highlights from today's meeting of the Standing Finance Committee.
In the nation's business at 6:25, is maternal mental health given enough attention? Consultant psychiatrist Dr. Sapphire Longmore will join us for this discussion.
And at 7, it's the comments section with Shalois Michael and Mahiri Stewart. This evening, they're asking, must mental health checks become a routine part of maternal health care? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio, and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90 FM. All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90 FM, RevoNews.ai, and on the Revo News app. It's available on Google Play and the App Store. This Thursday afternoon, it's Thursday, March 5, 2026.
The hour is brought to you by the KFC Value Menu. Grab a chicken box, famous bowl, small popcorn chicken, or crunch sandwich today with combos starting at just $620. KFC, it's finger licking good.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now the details. The government of Jamaica has ended its medical cooperation program with Cuba. The stunning move was announced through a statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs a short while ago. It says it has taken the decision to discontinue the long-standing deployment of medical professionals in the public health sector by the government of Cuba. This, it says, is because neither governments were unable to agree on the terms and were able rather to agree on the terms and conditions of a new technical cooperation arrangement following the expiration of the previous agreement in February 2023. There's no mention of the call by the U.S. government last year for the similar programs across the Caribbean to be axed. The call came as U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio labeled the Cuban medical missions exploitative, depriving the professionals of fair wages and freedom. Foreign Affairs Minister Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith says in the interest of continuity, the government has indicated its willingness to engage these medical professionals on an individual basis in keeping with local labor laws. She says this arrangement would last for the remainder of their scheduled tenure in Jamaica under the program. The Foreign Affairs Minister says Cuban medical professionals have been serving in various public health facilities across the island, and Jamaicans have benefited significantly. The government of Jamaica also expressed its sincere appreciation to the government of Cuba for its significant contribution to the health sector in Jamaica.
Minister of Finance and the Public Service Fayval Williams has defended the implementation of a special consumption tax on sweetened non-alcoholic beverages as more than just a revenue measure. The minister fielded several questions on the proposed tax during Thursday's meeting of Parliament's Standing Finance Committee. The committee is currently deliberating the estimates of expenditure for the 2026-2027 fiscal year to begin in April. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
The special consumption tax on non-alcoholic sweetened beverages is to be applied at the production or importation level at a rate of 2 cents per milliliter. It's projected to generate over $10 billion in revenue, making it the largest source of additional tax dollars to the government. According to the government, the primary objective is not only revenue mobilization, but also supporting broader public health objectives. Committee member and opposition spokesman on education Damian Crawford questioned that objective based on the calculation of how much the government anticipates it will collect from the tax.
You estimate a earning of $10.1 billion at 2 cents per milliliter. Would you confirm, therefore, that you expect no reduction in the consumption of that sugary drink, being that that would equate to 500 billion as well, milliliters?
To this, Minister Williams stated that if the tax overperformed, a percentage of the additional revenue will be allocated to the health sector. She said the funds would be earmarked to help those Jamaicans who end up in the hospital due to consequences from consuming too much sugar.
Member, based on the data from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, they have been tracking non-communicable diseases for a while now, and they know with great certainty the negative impact of sugar, excess sugar, on the population of Jamaica. So if we get more than is estimated, that extra goes into the health sector to take care of those people when they land there, because they're going to show up with elevated levels. They're going to show up complaining of all kinds of ailments as a result of drinking excess sugary drinks.
But spokesman on health Dr. Alfred Dawes suggested a more equitable way to implement a sugar tax. According to him, the current implementation does more harm to those who are trying to reduce their sugar intake.
Do you realize that you are putting a tax on diet drinks, which is the substitute that would have been preferred for consumers who you're trying to nudge into a healthier lifestyle? You are taxing persons who are trying to make healthier choices. And again, I have to ask, why did we go for the type of tax that has had the worst effects on consumer behavior? Why not go for a gradient, a graduated tax, where you force manufacturers to reformulate and you may not affect sales overall, but you would affect the sugar content that was being consumed?
Minister Williams acknowledged that this is something to consider at a later date. Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
Operation Epic Fury, tracking the joint U.S.-Israeli war against Iran and Iran's retaliatory strikes on U.S. assets and neighboring countries.
The Ministry of Finance is keeping a close eye on the ongoing conflict in the Middle East and its potential impact on the budget. Minister Fayval Williams addressed the issue at Thursday's sitting of Parliament's Standing Finance Committee, noting this was taken into consideration when the budget was crafted.
The United States and Israel launched an attack on the nuclear capabilities of Iran. And in a week, we've seen oil prices go from about $64 per barrel US to $74, an increase of about 16%. As you know, Mr. Chairman, the Middle East produces over 30% of the world's crude oil, making it the world's leading oil-producing region. Jamaica is an importer of oil, and so what happens to oil prices on the global market is expected to have an impact on Jamaica. As a government, we have a focus on energy security. Petrojam Refinery is our sole refiner and continues to provide energy security as we continue to expand our energy sources.
The government's budget is planned around certain expectations in global oil prices over a specific period. Constant fluctuations in oil prices put the finance minister in a difficult position to properly benchmark expectations for revenue and expenditure. Minister Williams admits that the longer the conflict continues, the greater the impact on Jamaica. She's urging the general public to plan accordingly.
We would begin to be very concerned about the impact depending on how long the war goes on. In the near term, we will see the first effect of it through oil prices. We expect consumers to manage their budget accordingly. Again, it's going to depend the longer term impact of it and whether or not a government will be required to assist will depend on the duration. So it's something that we're watching closely. And of course, if government is required to assist, that is something that the cabinet will deliberate on. And then, there will be an announcement to the country.
Fayval Williams, Minister of Finance and the Public Service.
Jamaica's sole oil refinery, Petrojam, says it's aware of public concerns about the potential impact of the ongoing U.S.-Israel-Iran conflict on local fuel prices as global energy markets experience increased volatility. Petrojam addressed the issue in a statement on Thursday. Petrojam says the latest ex-refinery prices for petroleum products, which took effect on Thursday, March 5, reflected adjustments across all classes of fuels. The refinery explains that the recent movements in the U.S. Gulf Coast reference prices for petroleum products have shown upward adjustments. Based on the changes in these benchmark prices during the past week, transportation fuels recorded increases ranging from $8.45 to $12.66 per liter. However, Petrojam says its pricing mechanism helped to cushion the impact on consumers. It says the full increases reflected in the U.S. Gulf Coast reference prices were not passed on in the ex-refinery prices. Petrojam adds that it will continue to closely monitor developments affecting the U.S. Gulf Coast reference prices for finished petroleum products as global market conditions evolve.
Israel's ambassador to Jamaica, Razlan Abu-Rukun, says he's unaware of any discussion surrounding a possible ceasefire to allow foreign nationals and tourists to leave the Middle East as the U.S.-Israeli war with Iran escalates. He was speaking on Cliff Hughes Online on Thursday.
We know that in different places, also in Israel, we are trying to find a way to help tourists or non-Israeli nationals that want to leave, or some Israelis that also want to come back. And definitely the security and the authorities will try to find the solution and do it in a safe manner. I don't know about any possible ceasefire now soon in order to assist in this matter. But with that, I think we saw also in Israel and other countries flights that successfully could leave, with they, of course, taking all the measures in order to do it in a safe way.
Many expatriates remain anxious and fearful about hostilities in the region. 178 Jamaicans have so far registered with the diplomatic mission to the United Arab Emirates and Qatar to make themselves known as residing in the Gulf states. On Thursday, Jamaica's ambassador-designate to the UAE and Qatar, Jason Hall, disclosed that a charter flight was being coordinated to accommodate those wanting to leave the region. Ambassador Rukun says several embassies in the Middle East are also making efforts to assist Jamaicans who wish to return home.
The situation is complicated. Also in Israel and all the neighboring countries in the Middle East right now. And I'm sure that your embassies in the Middle East are, taking all the arrangements needed in order to support and help the Jamaican people leaving, whoever want to leave the Middle East.
Razlan Abrukun, Israel's ambassador to Jamaica.
Operation Epic Fury, tracking the joint U.S.-Israeli war against Iran and Iran's retaliatory strikes on U.S. assets and neighboring countries.
You're listening to Nationwide News at 5 more news after these.
See twice the style for less at IQ Optical. Buy one pair of glasses and get your second and third pair half price. Don't miss out. Call 876-929-7732 or visit IQ Optical today, where clarity never looked sharper.
The time by IQ Optical is
14 minutes after 5.
Termites, rodents, or birds infesting your home or office? Call Rentokil Initial, the pest expert, at 876-926-4236 for a free pest assessment island-wide. The temperature brought to you by Rentokil Initial is...
It's 29 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 28 in Montego Bay.
You could win a return on your taxes. Pay your taxes with your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card at Tax Administration Jamaica or online for your chance to be one of 2 lucky winners of $500,000 cashback. Earn an entry for every $100,000 spent on taxes between February 27 and April 15. Plus, enjoy a 1-month payment holiday up to 55 days interest-free and unlimited reward points. Visit Sagicor.com to learn more. Conditions apply. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Continuing the news, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says penalties will be imposed on beneficiaries of the Hurricane Melissa housing grants if the funds are not used for their intended purpose. He issued the warning while addressing the launch of the Chester Creek housing development in Portmore, St. Catherine on Tuesday.
I've asked MOCA and the Ministry of Labour and Social Security to put in place audit teams to check that there is no welfare fraud in the use of these grants. Because if you took the grant and used it for other purposes other than for which it was given, then you didn't need the grant in the first place. We could have given that to someone who actually needed it. So we took the time to do the assessments, and therefore there is a record, a basis on which we can check and compare. So if you receive the grant and then we come and check and nothing has been done to the roof, then that's cause for action.
So far, over $5 billion in grants have been dispersed under the Restoration of Owner or Occupant Family Shelters (ROOFs) program. The program, which was launched in January, aims to assist homeowners with repairing homes and roofs in particular, which were damaged during the passage of the hurricane. Grants range from $75,000 to $500,000 depending on the extent of the damage. Dr. Holness says welfare fraud could lead to people later seeking additional assistance, placing further strain on the country's resources.
It is your taxpayers' dollars, and I'm certain you are vested in ensuring that the funds are not wasted. And then there is a huge hue and cry to say we didn't get anything, or what we get, we had to use it for something else, so we need to make another allocation again. That will not happen, because that will throw the country into economic chaos.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness.
At least 3 children have died in tragic circumstances in the country in the past 4 days. 2 of them, a 10-week-old baby boy and a 5-year-old girl, are suspected to have drowned. The other child, a 16-year-old boy, was hit in the head with a chair and died while undergoing treatment at hospital. Shalois Michael reports.
The most recent fatal incident involving children occurred on Wednesday. A student of Ocherius High School in St. Anne, Devani Shiro, was reportedly struck in the head during an altercation with a fellow student. He later succumbed to his injuries at hospital.
The Ministry of Education and the Member of Parliament for North East St. Anne visited the school on Thursday to offer psychosocial and other support. The other incidents involved infants. On Tuesday, 2-month-old Mateo Forbes was found face down in a bucket of water at the family home in Top Hill, Manchester. The child's mother, who the police say is an outpatient of a mental health clinic, reportedly confessed to the crime. She's currently being treated under police guard. 2 days earlier, on Sunday, 5-year-old Rakima Williams was found in a manhole at the rear of a premises in Rocky Point, Clarendon, where her family was temporarily residing. Rakima, a student of Galilee Basic School, is suspected to have drowned. In a statement responding to the death of the infants, CEO of the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, Lord Adams Thomas, says the tragedies underscore the urgent need for child protection to be prioritized.
2 children, 2 days apart, is too many. Whether the risk stems from environmental hazards or mental health challenges, the protection of our children must remain a national priority. The CPFSA stands ready to provide support, guidance, and intervention where needed.
The CPFSA says it has engaged Rakima's family directly and has been providing immediate psychosocial support. The agency says it has referred the family to the Victim Services Division for continued intervention.
There are no words that can adequately capture the heartbreak of losing a child in such sudden and tragic circumstances. You know, Rakima's death is a painful reminder that hazards can exist in and around our homes, especially when families are in transition or unfamiliar environments.
On the death of baby Mateo, the CPFSA says the incident demands national reflection. The agency says it presents the painful reality that poorly managed mental health challenges can place both a parent and a child at grave risk.
Postpartum depression and other psychiatric conditions can intensify after childbirth. We are appealing to mothers to attend follow-up appointments, continue prescribed treatments, and immediately seek help if they feel overwhelmed or distressed or unstable. You know, there is strength in seeking support, and early intervention can prevent devastating outcomes.
In extending condolences to the grieving families, the CPFSA has also reaffirmed its commitment to strengthening protective measures and promoting a greater awareness to prevent further loss of innocent lives. The agency is reminding the public to report all known or suspected cases of child abuse by calling 211, the 24-hour child abuse reporting hotline. Reports can also be made via WhatsApp or telephone at 876-878-2882 or 876-822-7031, by email at report@childprotection.gov.gm or through the CPFSA's social media pages at CPFSAJM. Shalois Michael for Nationwide News.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
The World Meteorological Organization, WMO, has officially retired the name Melissa from its rotating list of Atlantic hurricane names. This after the deadly and destructive system battered parts of the Caribbean last year. The decision was made by the WMO's Hurricane Committee, which selected Molly as the replacement name. Molly will appear on the Atlantic naming list beginning in 2031. At its peak, Hurricane Melissa reached Category 5 strength, bringing devastating storm surge and destructive winds to Jamaica and Cuba.
U.S. President Donald Trump has announced that he is replacing Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Noem, who has led Trump's immigration drive, will be replaced with Republican Senator Markwayne Mullin. This will take effect on March 31. Trump made the announcement on social media on Thursday. Noem has led the U.S. Department of Homeland Security since Trump took office for his second term in 2025. But according to Trump, she will now shift to a newly established position, the Special Envoy for the Shield of the Americas.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, Jamaica ends medical cooperation program with Cuba.
Government keeping a close eye on the ongoing conflict in the Middle East and its potential impact on the budget.
And Petrojam says its pricing mechanism is cushioning the cost of gas to customers. I'm Robianne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
You can find the news on our website at revonews.ai. And on the Revo News app, it's available on Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
Every day, Rosie has a glass of fruit drink with breakfast, an energy drink on the way to work, a flavored water with lunch, and 2 glasses of soda with dinner, which adds up to more than 50 teaspoons of sugar a day. And all that extra sugar could bring on obesity. Are we drinking ourselves sick? 71% of Jamaicans support a tax on sugary drinks. Help tackle obesity and protect our children's future. A message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. We start with news on football. Waterhouse, they're holding a 1-0 lead over Portmore United in their Ray and Nephew Jamaica Premier League encounter at Ferdinand Park. Mario Sims scored in the first half added time for the champions, the former champions, Waterhouse, who can solidify their place in the 5th position in the standings. At the minute, they've got 43 points. Portmore United can go 2nd place. They could join Mount Pleasant Academy in 2nd place if they manage to turn this game around this afternoon. And there's another game in progress at the minute. Cavalier, the champions, they are leading Lions United by 1-0. Christopher Ainsworth, the man who got the goal for Cavalier on minute 53. And still with the news on football, Tottenham Hotspur, for long one of the elites among English football clubs. Well, they slipped further to the relegation zone in the Premiership a short time ago. They were beaten 3-1 at home by Crystal Palace in their London derby. Spurs took the lead on minute 34 through Dominic Solanke. But the Eagles, they hit back with a double from Ismail Assar, one of the Senegalese AFCON winners, and the 3rd goal coming from the Norwegian Norge Larsson. And that put the Crystal Palace team in the lead for good and eventually winning the game 3-1.
Morton right in the shoulder, Richards there too. Archie Gray's come away with the ball here and sneaks it in, and Tottenham Hotspur have the lead. Vicario, and he slots it into the back of the net. Cool as you like. As Gesson gets a foot in, Morton for Palace. Dig through to Strand Larson, and Crystal Palace are in front. Clip towards Sarr, and he might get there, he has. It is 3-1.
Well, Spurs now in the 16th position in the standings on 29 points. They're just a point ahead of the teams in 17th and 18th, which means they're slipping closer and perilously close to the relegation zone in the championship. Former Manchester United star man Dwight Yorke has been removed of head coach of the Trinidad and Tobago national men's senior football team. The TTFA has released a statement confirming the departure of Yorke, saying the contract, which was due to end in June this year, has been terminated by mutual agreement with immediate effect. Following the failed World Cup qualifying campaign, the Executive Committee of the TTFA conducted a comprehensive review of the campaign and the overall direction of the men's senior football team, and this is inclusive of the technical structure and financial framework. Subsequent discussions were held between the TTFA and York regarding the future of the role, including revised contractual terms and the remuneration alignment to the next phase of the program. After the discussions, both parties were unable to reach an agreement on the proposed terms at this time, and it was mutually decided to part ways. Now, in a separate release coming from Dwight York shortly after the TTFA released theirs, he said he had every intention of continuing, but unfortunately circumstances beyond his control have made that impossible. Of course it did. So they're now apart Trinidad and Tobago looking for a new men's head football team coach. So cricket now, India sealed a spot in Sunday's ICC T20 World Cup. That's in the final. After beating England by 7 runs in a thrilling semi-final at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai on Thursday, Jacob Bethnal's thrilling century was not enough as England were restricted to 246 for 7 after they were set 254 for victory. Bethnal hit a scarcely believable 105 from 48 balls to threaten an England revival after they fell to 63 for 3 and, of course, 95 for 4 at stages during the chase. Will Jacks made 35 and wicketkeeper Josh Butler made 25. Hardik Pandya was a leading Indian bowler, back to 2 for 38. Sanju Samson had earlier set the Wankhede alive, and he was following up on his heroics against the West Indies in the final Super 8 game. He crashed 89 from 42 balls to steer India to 253 for 7. Samson was dropped on 15, but he capitalized on the opportunity and helped his team to post the highest T20 score ever against England. India, of course, will take on New Zealand in the big final on Sunday morning, Jamaica time at about 8:30. And that will do it for sport. We're going to be back, though, at 6:05. Alex Swaby will be your presenter. That time we'll have an update on the Premier League scores and much, much more in our major sportscast.
For all your custom framing, printing, graphic design, and purchase of art, Make It Frame Art Jamaica Limited, serving you for over 40 years. The time by Frame Art Jamaica is
5:30.
Every day, Jamaicans have something to say. In the group chats, on social media, in the streets, there's a place where it all comes together. The comment section. This is not a lecture. This is not a call-in show. This is the hottest topics of the day, filtered through real opinions, real WhatsApp messages, real voice notes, real reactions. You agree, disagree, sound off, text it, voice note it, debate it. Comments section, Monday to Friday from 7 to 7:30 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
As a parent, you give your children a good start in life. You nurture, protect, and guide them. Parenting is a process that prepares your child for independence. As your child grows and develops, there are many things you can do to help your child. Stay tuned to The Big Show, Nationwide this morning, for parenting tips. Fridays at 6:53 a.m. Only here will you learn everything you need to know about parenting. Tips to help parents navigate the incredibly challenging and rewarding journey of child rearing. Parenting tips on Nationwide at 90 FM, the revolution in media. You may have been hearing the teasers. Now it's official. Beginning Monday, February 9, 2026, Nationwide News Network launches something special. The Nationwide Family Club, exclusively on Patreon.
With the Family Club, members get early access to our documentaries before anyone else. Some of your favorite segments, including Cliff Says, What's on My Mind, Cover Story, and others will now be a click away inside the Family Club. There are 3 tiers of membership. First, Bronze, the Family Insider, behind-the-scenes access Monday motivational videos, members-only chats, and on-air birthdays and anniversary shoutouts.
Second, Silver, nationwide VIP. Breaking news alerts, exclusive documentaries, quizzes, personal milestones celebrated on air, and weekly family roll call mentions. Oh, and for our biggest supporters,
our gold category, elite listener, full archive access, early releases, private studio tours, live show experiences, personalized birthday videos, and exclusive live streams. From historic election coverage to lifetime, impact, Jamaican milestones, and rare archive content. This is nationwide like you've never seen it before.
Join the family. Support Nationwide 90 FM, the station that informs, entertains, and educates. Visit patreon.com/Nationwide News Network. That's patreon.com/Nationwide News Network. Nationwide Family Club, where you are family, because we see you as family.
Need to make a change to your title or need a title? Geoland Title Limited is the place to be. They do lost title application, add and remove names from titles, wills, estates, first-time registration, land surveys included, affordable rates and flexible payment options, National Land Agency adjudication and land titling waivers available. They have 8 locations island-wide. Call 876-754-6436 or visit their website at geolandonline.com. Geoland Title Limited. Secure your land, secure your title.
Cover Story is brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
Multilink. Access every time, everywhere I go. Multilink. 24/7 access for me. It's just a win-win when we use Multilink. This card is Jamaican built, yeah. Fast and secure, you can use anywhere. Spend while supporting the economy.
Look for the Multilink logo on your card and benefit from Jamaica's largest debit payment network.
Multilink. 24/7 access for me.
What would I do without my Multilink?
Good afternoon, listeners, viewers. Thank you for joining me this afternoon for the Cover Story. I trust all is well. I am Siobhan Campbell, and we are going to start today's program with highlights from the Standing Finance Committee, which is still ongoing in the House of Representatives as we speak. Well, during today's meeting of the SFC, Minister of Finance and the Public Service that's Favour Williams, commented on the increases in global oil prices given the continuing hostilities in the Middle East.
As of Saturday, February 28, 2026, we learned from the global news sources that the United States and Israel launched an attack on the nuclear capabilities of Iran. And in a week, we've seen oil prices go from about $64 per barrel US to $74, an increase of about 16%. As you know, Mr. Chairman, the Middle East produces over 30% of the world's crude oil, making it the world's leading oil-producing region. Additionally, the world's busiest oil shipping lane, the Strait of Hormuz, through which about 20% of global oil and gas passes, has been disrupted. Jamaica is an importer of oil, and so what happens to oil prices on the global market is expected to have an impact on Jamaica. As a government, we have a focus on energy security. Petrojam Refinery is our sole refiner and continues to provide energy security as we continue to expand our energy sources.
That's Minister of Finance Favour Williams. So much going on the geopolitical front, and all of it impacting little Jamaica, even so far away and so far removed from the circumstances taking place in the Middle East. Well, Minister Williams highlighted Jamaica's economic recovery despite the recent shocks to the country's financial framework. She says the government's quick response contributed greatly to the economic rebound.
Let me add as well, Mr. Chairman, on Tuesday, PIOJ presented its estimate of GDP growth for the October to December 2025 quarter relative to the corresponding quarter of 2024. PIOJ estimated that the Jamaican economy contracted by 7.5%, the largest quarterly decline since the July to September 2020 quarter, when the economy was impacted by COVID-19 pandemic. The PIOJ said that the estimated outturn for the October to December quarter in 2025 largely reflects the impact of the Category 5 Hurricane Melissa that caused widespread disruption due to hurricane force winds, storm surge, intense rainfall, flooding, and landslide. Combined, these shocks negatively impacted the performance of all industries, particularly agriculture, forestry and fishing, accommodation and food services activities, transport and storage, electricity, water supply, and waste management. But it must be noted, Mr. Chairman, that the 7.5% contraction in GDP for the October to December 2025 quarter is significantly better than the negative 11% to negative 13% that the PIOJ initially anticipated. This is attributed to the better than anticipated outturn of some industries and the speed with which the apparatus of government got mobilized to clear roads, provide relief food packages, got electricity restored in record time, so that our water sector that depends on electricity could move the water in its pipe. Our telecom sector that also depends on the electricity was able to recover in record time. In fact, Mr. Chairman, Major General Smart of SEDEMA, which is Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, lauded Jamaica's resilient and coordinated emergency response. He also commended the government for its leadership in coordinating and driving national response and recovery. So to have a better outturn than was initially predicted, it's not luck, it's not buck up, it's hard work on the part of this government, businesses, and the general Jamaican population. Major General Smart also said, "My commendation must also extend to the government of Jamaica, who at the end of the day is responsible for the response and the recovery, and the fact that they have thrown themselves totally into it is an indication of why I say Jamaica will bounce back faster than one expects." With the government's drive and with the support of the people and the various institutions and industries, Jamaica will build itself better than it was before. I have no doubt, he stressed. The $358.2 billion financing gap will be covered from loan receipts of $247.1 billion, other inflows of $7.2 billion, and use of the government's cash resources of $103.9 billion. Just to note, Mr. Chairman, we are very encouraged with the report from the PIOJ yesterday that highlighted that the anticipated decline in the GDP output in the October to December 2025 quarter was not as bad as was initially thought, coming in at the negative 7.5%.
Minister of Finance Favour Williams there. I stop here, listeners, viewers, to highlight something that I think the minister herself left out. We had the energy minister, that was Daryl Vaz, on yesterday, and I know some of the comments accused me of gassing him up. I put it diplomatic. The words actually used were not as kind, but accused me of gassing up the minister. But it should be pointed out that the expectation at the height of Hurricane Melissa after it passed Jamaica was for us to end December of 2025 at negative 13%, about negative 13%. that may seem like just a figure out of nowhere, but now imagine a situation where that concern was cut by almost half to 7.5%, highlighted by both the Bank of Jamaica and the PIOJ, pointing to the response not only by the government but the private sector in terms of getting things back on track. This is not just something that happened by chance, as the minister said. This required deliberate effort, deliberate policies to get things back on track. Policies, mind you, that were criticized at every turn by the opposition. So when kudos have to be given to the government, kudos have to be given to the government for what it has accomplished. And I will make no bones about it. And then let us dig further. That $360 billion gap that would exist in the budget as a result of Hurricane Melissa, which is now going to be financed through loans from multilaterals and bilateral partners. Do you think it's a happenstance that we have those loans and at very, very reasonable rates that we have those loans? No. Again, it is because of a recognition as to where the country has come in terms of its fiscal management. All of these things, all of these benefits, these boons in a time of crisis are a result of the work put in by the government and the people of Jamaica in righting the ship. And credit has to be given when credit is due. And I'm not going to end there, and I will point out to a lot of our listeners who don't like when I say this, but partial credit also has to be given to the opposition for their leg of the journey in steering the ship. So all of this comes together that when we say that look at where the country is coming from, it's not just us wanting to praise a minister for the sake of praising a minister. I, as a Jamaican, just in my 30s, I know when the country was going through hard times, and I recognize that the country is again going through hard times, but I also recognize where we're coming from. As young as I am, I recognize where the country is coming from and where it has ended up after just my few 30 years on this earth. So I wanted to point that out, and then we will take the break now, listeners, and when we come back, more from the Standing Finance Committee.
Order Pizza Hut online at pizzahutjamaica.com or through WhatsApp at 876-837-4488. Pizza Hut, now that's delivery. The time by Pizza Hut is...
It's 5:45.
Multi-link, access every time, everywhere I go. Multi-link, 24/7 access for me. It's just a win-win when we use multi-link. This card is Jamaican built, yeah. Fast and secure, you can use anywhere, spend while supporting the economy.
Look for the Multilink logo on your card and benefit from Jamaica's largest debit payment network.
Multi-link, 24/7 access for me.
What would I do without my Multi-link?
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
Every day, Rosie has a glass of fruit drink with breakfast, an energy drink on the way to work, a flavored water with lunch, and 2 glasses of soda with dinner, which adds up to more than 50 teaspoons of sugar a day. And all that extra sugar could bring on obesity. Are we drinking ourselves sick? 71% of Jamaicans support a tax on sugary drinks. Help tackle obesity and protect our children's future. A message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to the Cover Story. We are giving you excerpts from today's meeting of the Standing Finance Committee, still ongoing over there at Gordon House, where Opposition Spokesman of Finance, Julian Robinson, posed questions to Minister Williams concerning the establishment of the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, that's the NARA. And Minister Williams had some difficulty responding to the questions surrounding a timeline for its implementation.
In relation to NARA, could you indicate when you anticipate NARA to be operational and what structure NARA will have? Will it be the equivalent of a public body? What would be the framework that underpins how NARA operates? And the timeline, yeah.
Currently, I know that the technical team is hard at work to get NARA up and running. It will be a statutory body. With all the laws and regulations surrounding statutory bodies. So that, as we speak, is in train. You know that legislation would have to be brought to Parliament to get that set up. So that will be the first order of the day.
So could you give a time frame? Are we talking first quarter, next fiscal year, second quarter? Give an estimate as to when you think it will be operational.
All right, so as indicated, member, quite a bit of work is going on. We have to get the legislative work done first. Once that is done, people have to be hired on. I know already the Prime Minister has his list of projects that he's prioritizing to get done. These will be large projects that will be done through this entity. So there is some work done, but the team is moving swiftly to get it done.
I appreciate the work being done, and I know everybody's working quickly, but is it that you're unable to estimate a time frame at this point in time? And can you come back to us and say to us by the close of play that you think by second quarter of the fiscal year it will be up and operating? That's what I'm asking specifically. Appreciating that everybody's working, everybody's moving quickly. I'm just asking for a time frame.
So, member, there's still matters being discussed in Cabinet. As soon as we have all the approvals from Cabinet, I am sure the Prime Minister will speak to exactly the time frame for the establishment and the operations of this entity.
There, Finance Minister Favour Williams answering questions from her opposition counterpart, Julian Robinson. I think this is or was the weakest point of her presentation at the Standing Finance Committee. But the thing is, I don't blame her for this because the NARA is the brainchild of the Prime Minister. As much as the Ministry of Finance is the one working towards its implementation in terms of legislation, it really does fall to the Cabinet in terms of putting together that vision as to what they expect it to be. And I do hope that the Prime Minister takes some time to really come to the public and give us a clear understanding as to how he sees NARA functioning. I know he's given us some tidbits in terms of what he expects. The Finance Minister gave some explanations there, but I think in terms of a concrete expectation of what NARA will do, it does behoove the Prime Minister to provide us with that information. And even more so considering I think it's upwards of 30 billion, in excess of $30 billion tied up in NARA that is to go towards the reconstruction effort. So I really hope the Prime Minister comes with some information on NARA, if not before, during his budget debate presentation later on in the month. Well, another committee member and the opposition spokesperson on education, Damian Crawford, he raised questions regarding the kind of research that was done before the government decided on implementing a special consumption tax on sweetened non-alcoholic beverages.
Yes. Minister, I'd like to start with some of the revenue measures, in particular sweetened beverage. What's the actual estimated consumption for the year 23-24 and 24-25 that was used as the base for your projections?
All right, so we used 17.3 million cases in 2020. And notice I said cases, so you multiply that by an average of 24 bottles or cans. And, all right, sorry. Okay, so those numbers I'm told were just for carbonated beverage, but we used in our estimate roughly 40 million cases.
40 million. Minister, the taxes in milliliter, and you know they're varied sizes. Would you have a milliliter amount?
You mean for the totality of it?
Yes, yes, Minister.
It's over 500 billion milliliters.
Is that within the range of 500 billion or 700 billion? Over has a wide gap. Is it approximately 500 billion?
Right, approximately 500 billion milliliters.
Okay, well, Minister, you estimate a earning of $10.1 billion at 2 cents per milliliter. Would you confirm, therefore, that you expect no reduction in the consumption of that sugary drink, being that that would equate to 500 billion as well, milliliters?
Are you talking about
consumption? Consumption.
Are you talking about the 10.1 billion?
Yes, Minister. The levy of 2 cents.
All right. So here's the thing. One, these are estimates. Two, persons could decide that they want to drink less of the sugary drinks, and we see a reduction in that number.
Yes.
Right? That's a good thing from a health perspective. Persons could also decide that they will drink more, and we get the revenues that we estimate. So based on the data from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, they have been tracking non-communicable diseases for a while now, and they know with great certainty the negative impact of sugar, excess sugar, on the population of Jamaica. So if we get more than is estimated, that extra goes into the health sector to take care of those people when they land there, because they're going to show up with elevated levels, they're going to show up complaining of all kinds of ailments as a result of drinking excess sugary drinks. So either way, Minister, either way, Chairman, whether it's 10.1 billion or more than 10 or less than 10, the health sector will have to take care of those who drink too much, and it will benefit from those who change their behavior and consume less.
Minister, unfortunately, I didn't get a response to my question. It was indicated that your base zero this year was 500 billion milliliters. Your best case projection, or your most likely case projection, suggests that at 2 cents you will earn 10.1 billion, indicating therefore you expect no decrease in the consumption of the sugary drink, because it would take 500 billion times 2 cents to be 10.1 billion.
All right, so member?
Yes.
I can say that the 10.1 billion took into consideration, some amount of reduction in the consumption of the beverage.
So your previous figure of 500 billion would have been incorrect then? Your base figure you're saying?
Well, I told you approximately, and in fact, I just got confirmation that we used 533 billion, and that we looked at the experience in other countries that have instituted the tax to see what their what the behavior was of their consumers.
All right, Minister, would you accept that at 500 billion milliliters, which is what your revenues project, that's equivalent to 400 bottles for every Jamaican soda per year?
Well, thank you for that calculation. That suggests that each person drinks a little more than one per day. And that's why the Ministry of Health and Wellness is seeing the explosion that it is in terms of diabetes and other sugar-related illnesses.
All right, thank you, Minister.
So it is it's a real concern.
Yes, all right. Minister, have the ministry conducted a distributional incident analysis to see which section of the society will be most affected by this tax?
You know, I've heard the concern that this will impact poor people the most. The tax will impact poor people the most. I would have to ask the Ministry of Health and Wellness, based on the experience with those who show up at the hospital, if that is the same population that's showing up. Obviously, we want everybody to be, to reduce their sugar intake, because we know it's not guessing and spelling about the impact of sugar on health. There's no guess and spell about that. The data is there.
That's Minister of Finance Favour Williams answering questions from Damien Crawford. We have one more clip, listeners, that I wanted to get in before we are quite out of time, and that was this brief exchange between the Finance Minister and Heather Miller-Bennett regarding the Postal Service, and an intervention, you would say, from Juliet Holness, the Speaker of the House. Let's go to it.
Minister, I noticed that the Postal Corporation of Jamaica, you're projecting an increase in revenue of commercial services. I'm concerned and I'm asking, what has been the implication of the U.S. executive order to suspend duty-free diminished treatment for all countries? How has this impacted, or how will it impact the revenue, commercial services revenue of the corporation?
But the post office has not indicated to us that they're seeing any severe impact or an impact from that policy.
Minister, that's a main income stream for the Postal Corporation. So I think it is important to know how this impacts it, in addition to the fact that many post offices were affected by Melissa. So your revenue income your commercial services revenue would be impacted, but you are projecting to increase this in the upcoming year. Is there some other way to increase this? The question, Minister, is that quite a few post offices were affected by Melissa. As a matter of fact, most post offices are closed. How are you projecting to increase commercial services revenue for 26-27? They were badly affected by Melissa and closed. How are you projecting to increase commercial services revenue, in addition to the executive order by the U.S., where the Postal Service, the Postal Corporation is revenue for packages under $800. That's a main income stream for the Postal Corporation that would have been affected by the order, the executive order of August 2025, but you're projecting an increase in commercial services revenue. What is it that the Postal Corporation will be doing to fill this revenue that you're projecting?
All right, so the projections there would come from the entity who best understand the business that they're in, the different streams of business, and what they will be able to do in the coming year to maintain and improve their revenues. As I said earlier on, that entity has not, through the budget process, brought to our attention any negative impact that it is seeing, and I'm sure if it was, it would be reflected in their ask of the Ministry of Finance, because to the extent that their revenues are negatively impacted, they would have to make it up someplace else, and generally it's to the Ministry of Finance that they come, and we have not seen, we haven't gotten that information that they are suffering at all from that policy in the U.S.
In essence, Minister, you're saying that you're not equipped to answer the question then?
So no. Let me respond, because obviously the member does not yet have an appreciation or know of the budget process, right? Does not.
Shepherd really understands how.
So there, the Minister of Finance, Favor Williams, making it quite certain that she is not as meek as people seem to think she is. She understands her portfolio. Sometimes it does not necessarily come off, but in that exchange, it's quite clear that the minister does have a full grasp of her portfolio. And if you're going to ask a question of the minister, make sure that you come properly prepared with the information. Well, I have to leave it there. We're well beyond out of time. It's now time for the headline, listeners. I join you back here at 6:25.
Cover Story was brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
The hour was brought to you by the KFC Value Menu. Grab a chicken box, famous bowl, small popcorn chicken, or crunch sandwich today, with combos starting at just $620. KFC, it's finger licking good.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is...
It's 5 minutes after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Mahiri Stewart. The government of Jamaica has ended its medical cooperation program with Cuba. The stunning move was announced through a statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs a short while ago. It says it has taken the decision to discontinue the long-standing deployment of medical professionals in the public health sector by the government of Cuba. This, it says, is because neither governments were able to agree on the terms and conditions of a new technical cooperation arrangement. The previous agreement expired in February 2023. There's no mention of the call by the U.S. government last year for similar programs across the Caribbean to be axed. The call came as U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio labeled the Cuban medical missions exploitative, depriving the professionals of fair wages and freedom. Foreign Affairs Minister Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith says in the interest of continuity, the government has indicated its willingness to engage these medical professionals on an individual basis in keeping with local labor laws. She says this arrangement would last for the remainder of their scheduled tenure in Jamaica under the program. The minister says Cuban medical professionals have been serving in various public health facilities across the island, and Jamaicans have benefited significantly. The government of Jamaica also expressed its sincere appreciation to the government of Cuba for its significant contribution to the health sector in Jamaica. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says penalties will be imposed on beneficiaries of the Hurricane Melissa housing grants if the funds are not used for their intended purpose. He issued the warning while addressing the launch of the Chester Creek housing development in Portmore, St. Catherine on Tuesday.
I have asked MOCA and the Ministry of Labour and Social Security to put in place audit teams to check that there is no welfare fraud in the use of these grants. Because if you took the grant and used it for other purposes other than for which it was given, then you didn't need the grant in the first place. We could have given that to someone who actually needed it. So we took the time to do the assessments, and therefore there is a record, a basis on which we can check and compare. So if you receive the grant and then we come and check and nothing has been done to the roof, then that's cause for action.
So far, over $5 billion in grants have been dispersed under the Restoration of Owner or Occupant Family Shelters Roofs program. The program, which was launched in January, aims to assist homeowners with repairing homes and roofs in particular, which were damaged during the passage of Hurricane Melissa. Grants range from $75,000 to $500,000 depending on the extent of the damage. Dr. Holness says welfare fraud could lead to people later seeking additional assistance, placing further strain on the country's resources.
It is your taxpayers' dollars, and I'm certain you are vested in ensuring that the funds are not wasted. And then there is a huge hue and cry to say we didn't get anything, or what we get, we had to use it for something else, so we need to make another allocation again. That will not happen, because that will throw the country into economic chaos.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness.
Operation Epic Fury, tracking the joint U.S.-Israeli war against Iran and Iran's retaliatory strikes on U.S. assets and neighboring countries.
The Ministry of Finance is keeping a close eye on the ongoing conflict in the Middle East and its potential impact on the budget. Finance Minister Fayval Williams addressed the issue at Thursday's sitting of Parliament's Standing Finance Committee, noting this was taken into consideration when the budget was crafted.
The United States and Israel launched an attack on the nuclear capabilities of Iran. And in a week, we've seen oil prices go from about $64 per barrel US to $74, an increase of about 16%. As you know, Mr. Chairman, the Middle East produces over 30% of the world's crude oil, making it the world's leading oil-producing region. Jamaica is an importer of oil, and so what happens to oil prices on the global market is expected to have an impact on Jamaica. As a government, we have a focus on energy security. Petrojam Refineries, our sole refiner, and continues to provide energy security as we continue to expand our energy sources.
Finance Minister Fayval Williams, the government's budget is planned around certain expectations in global oil prices over a specific period. Constant fluctuations in oil prices put the finance minister in a difficult position to properly benchmark expectations for revenue and expenditure. She admits that the longer the conflict continues, the greater the impact on Jamaica. Those are the headlines at 6. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Sports is next.
So some of you have been listening longer than I've been talking on radio, so this is our way of keeping it strong together. Join the nationwide 90 FM Family Club on Patreon and stay with us.
Attention contractors, developers, and homeowners. Glacier White Corian Solid Surface is now at a special price while stocks last. Choose Corian for your commercial and residential projects. You won't regret it. It's durable, beautiful, and long-lasting. No sealing necessary. Corian is the #1 solid surface in the world. Second to none. Visit Home International Limited at 104 Constant Spring Road. Telephone 876-755-1970 or 876-276-6448. Open Mondays to Fridays, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and on Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Multi-link, access every time, everywhere I go. Multi-link, 24/7 24/7 access for me. It's just a win-win when we use multi-link. This card is Jamaican built, yeah. Fast and secure, you can use anywhere. Spend while supporting the economy.
Look for the multi-link logo on your card and benefit from Jamaica's largest debit payment network.
Multi-link, 24/7 access for me.
What would I do without my multi-link?
If you've ever called in, shared your story, or got help on this show, then you're already family. Now make it official. Join the nationwide 90 FM Family Club today on Patreon.
Good evening with your sports report. I am Alric Swaby. We kick things off with some football as Waterhouse moved to within 3 points of fourth place in the rare never Jamaica Premier League after beating another former champions Portmore United 1-0 at Ferdinand Park on Thursday. Mario Sims scored the winner in the first half added time as Waterhouse jumped to 40 points, 3 behind Portmore, who are fourth on 43 points. In another game on Thursday, champions Cavalier beat Moulins United 2-1. Christopher Ainsworth scored in the 53rd minute before the Antiguan Darrell Massicot made it 2-0 in the 73rd minute. Nicholas Nelson scored Moulins consolation 5 minutes into added time. Cavalier are now up to 6th in the standings with 30 points, while Moulins remains 12th on 24 points. Head coach of Mount Pleasant Academy, Theodore Whitmore, has bemoaned the team's lack of defensive solidity as they prepare to face record MLS champions, the LA Galaxy, in the first leg of the CONCACAF Champions Cup at Dignity Health Sports Park in Los Angeles next Wednesday. Mount Pleasant is entering the competition at the round of 16 stage, having gained a bye as Caribbean champions. Whitmore is concerned over the team's defensive maturity at this level as they embark on their journey into CONCACAF's elite club competition.
A bit disappointed, but such is the nature of the game. I think we go again. I think for the last 3 games, we have conceded some goal, whereas, it's unacceptable at this level. But we have a squad, we have to rotate, we have to give players minutes.
Whitmore is aware of the challenges that comes with playing on America's West Coast against the 6-time MLS champions, but says they just have to be prepared for the test.
Well, again, we have a game next week, We have to look on what we have going into the game and we have to prepare, plan and prepare and go over there and get our best.
Theodore Whitmore, the return leg is on Thursday, March 19. The head coach of Real Mona FC, Neo Oxford, says his team is eager to make a strong statement on their return to the Jamaica Women's Premier League. Real Mona will face Onyx Gardens at the Tony Spalding Complex at 3:30 p.m. on Saturday's opening day of the season. Oxford says while a positive result would be important, the club's wider objective this season is to create opportunities for their players.
We're just coming to give a good performance, a good showing of what we've been training for. We haven't been in the league for about 6 or 7 years, so we're returning now. We're still the youngest team in the league, and our objective, many might set out at the start of the season to win the title at the start of the season. That's not what our objective is. Up front, we're trying to get girls overseas to college. We sent over 14 girls overseas already. It's a partnership with Reynolds Academy, which is a female football academy in Jamaica. So we're using the league as a vehicle for us to showcase our talent more on a wider scale.
Near Oxford. In the other fixtures, defending champions Fraser's Whip play Los Perfectos at Brooks Park. Proven Girls face Wi-Fi United at York Sports Complex. Springers United will lock horns with Mile Gully at Irwin High School. Real Mobay and Federal United are set to square off at Jarrett Park, and UII Women hosts Cavalier at UII Bowl. Now, Tottenham Hotspur, for long one of the elites of English football, slipped closer to the relegation zone in the Premier League on Thursday. They crashed to a 3-1 loss at home to Crystal Palace in their London derby at the Tottenham Stadium. Spurs took the lead on 34 minutes through Dominic Solanke, but Palace hit back through a double from Senegalese Afghan winner Ismailia Sarr and Norway's Jørgen Larsson.
Morton right in the shoulder, Richards there too. Archie Gray's come away with the ball here and sneaks it in, and Tottenham Hotspur have the lead. Vicario, and he slots it into the back of the net. Cool as as you like. As Gesson gets a foot in, Morton for Palace. Dig through to Strand Larson, and Crystal Palace are in front. Clip towards Sarr, and he might get there, he has. It is 3-1.
Spurs are now 16th in the standings with 29 points, just one ahead of the 17th and 18th placed teams. Former Manchester United star Dwight Yorke has been removed as head coach of the Trinidad and Tobago men's senior football team. The TTFA has released a statement confirming the departure of Yorke, saying the contract, which was due to end in June this year, has been terminated by mutual agreement with immediate effect. Following failed World Cup qualifying campaign, the executive committee of the TTFA conducted a comprehensive review of the campaign and the overall direction of the men's senior national team program, inclusive of its technical structure and financial framework. Subsequent discussions were held between the TTFA and Yorke regarding the future of the role, including revised contractual terms and remuneration aligned to the next phase of the program. After these discussions, both parties were unable to reach agreement on the proposed terms at this time, and it was mutually decided to part ways. In a separate statement, Yorke said in part that he had every intention of continuing. Unfortunately, circumstances beyond his control have made this impossible. Now to cricket, as India sealed a spot in Sunday's ICC T20 World Cup final after beating England by 7 runs in a thrilling semi-final at the Wankhede in Mumbai on Thursday. Jacob Bethel's thrilling century was not enough as England were restricted to 246 for 7, having been set 254 for victory. Bethel hit 105 from 48 balls to threaten an England revival after they fell to 63 for 3 and 95 for 4 at stages during the chase. Will Jacks made 35 and wicketkeeper Josh Butler 25 as Hardik Pandya ended with 2 for 38. Sanju Samson had earlier set the Wankhede alive, following up on his heroics against the West Indies by crashing 89 from 42 balls to steer India to 243 for 7. Samson was dropped on 15 but capitalized on the opportunity to help his team pile up the highest T20 score ever made against England. India will play New Zealand in Sunday's final in Ahmedabad. Head coach of the West Indies women, Shane Deeds, expressed clear disappointment with the team's performance following their defeat in the recently concluded 6-match white ball series against Sri Lanka. The Caribbean side struggled to find consistency across both formats, losing the One Day International Series 2-1 before suffering a 2-0 defeat in the T20 International leg. Shane Deeds says the results were frustrating. Despite the overall struggles, the coach singled out a young batter, Janila Glasgow, for special praise after she produced 2 impressive half-centuries during the ODI series.
So there's not a lot of things to be pleased about. I think probably the takeaways have been a couple of fringe players stepping up. Glasgow played 2 great innings in the ODIs. She's starting to establish herself as an international cricketer, so it was great to see. Claxton's also stepping up as an international cricketer in T20. She's got a lot of versatility and a big future, so it was good to see her get some time in the middle. But we're looking at those youngsters to get a lot better and develop their games. But yeah, so not a lot to be pleased about. And I think it's been 8 months since our last played our games, so we look very rusty as a unit. Our combinations weren't working. We just looked like we hadn't played for a while, which is obviously the case. But now we've got some cricket before the World Cup, so it's perfect for us now.
Deeds noted that the team still has several areas requiring improvement if they are to compete more effectively against stronger opposition.
In the middle, the conditions weren't what we expected here and definitely didn't suit our game, but we didn't adapt well enough, didn't think on our feet enough, particularly out in the middle, and adjust our plans quick enough and adjust to the conditions fast enough. That's probably what let us down, and conditions definitely suited them. But that's a big work on. We've got to adjust faster, think faster, problem solve quicker, so we can hit our targets, hit our KPIs, and get our targets throughout the game, which obviously will get the result at the end of the day.
Shane Deeds. The West Indies will now shift their focus to a demanding 6-match white ball series against Australia from March 19 to April 2. The series will see the Caribbean side play 3 T20 internationals in St. Vincent and the Grenadines before travelling to St. Kitts and Nevis for 3 one-day internationals. Well, I'm Alric Swaby, and that's your sports.
From early childhood to higher education, from smart classrooms to school nutrition, Jamaica's education system is evolving fast. The Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information is leading the charge. Broadband in schools across the island, 6 new STEM-focused secondary schools on the way, thousands of teachers trained in cutting-edge technology, and more students in high-demand TVET programs than ever before. We're empowering learners, equipping educators, and transforming education for Jamaica's future. The Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, we are trending, transforming education for national development.
CFOs and senior decision makers across the Caribbean, this is your moment. The Caribbean CFO Summit goes live March 24 and 25, 2026. 2 days, 13 CPD accredited hours, one powerful virtual gathering of the region's leading finance minds. This is where strategy meets innovation, where restructuring meets execution, where finance leaders prepare for what the next decade demands. Registration closes March 24. Do not sit this one out. Secure your seat now at CaribbeanCFOSummit.com.
If you love the vibes, the laughs, and the real talk, then you're one of us. Don't just listen, belong. Join the Nationwide 90 FM Family Club on Patreon. It's Monday, get over your blues. Or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The E-Zone is here for you. With this thing, Honey Bee.
And Karim Boyatings
from 3 to 5 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM.
We've got your entertainment news.
Then we want to hear your views. Why you say?
Jump in the mix.
Or the hot seat.
Don't miss our brain busters.
Or the crazy giveaways.
Let's talk fashion.
Send us your outfit of the day. Ooh, cutesy. Very demure.
Are you looking for love?
Come on one of our blind dates. Send your request to ezoneblindates@gmail.com. That's ezoneblindates@gmail.com.
And stay tuned for your confessions.
These are my confessions. Share them with us at ezoneconfessions@yahoo.com. I mean, is this planet Earth?
Is it?
I don't know. Let me check. Either way, it's got a buzz.
And a bugger thing.
Ow! Ow!
Every day, Jamaicans have something to say. In the group chats, on social media, in the streets, there's a place where it all comes together. The comment section. This is not a lecture. This is not a call-in show. This is the hottest topics of the day, filtered through real opinions, real WhatsApp messages, real voice notes, real reactions. You agree, disagree, sound off, text it, voice note it, debate it. Comments section, Monday to Friday from 7 to 7:30 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
You may have been hearing the teasers. Now it's official. Beginning Monday, February 9, 2026, Nationwide News Network launches something special. The Nationwide Family Club, exclusively on Patreon.
With the Family Club, members get early access to our documentaries before anyone else. Some of your favorite segments, including Cliff Says, What's on My Mind, Cover Story, and others will now be a click away inside the Family Club. There are 3 tiers of membership. First, Bronze, the Family Insider, behind-the-scenes access, Monday motivational videos, members-only chats, and on-air birthdays and anniversary shoutouts.
Second, Silver, Nationwide VIP. Breaking news alerts, exclusive documentaries, quizzes, personal milestones celebrated on air, and weekly family roll call mentions. Oh, and for our biggest supporters,
our gold category, elite listener, full archive access, early releases, private studio tours, live show experiences, personalized birthday videos, and exclusive live streams. From historic election coverage to lifetime, impact, Jamaican milestones, and rare archive content. This is nationwide like you've never seen it before.
Join the family. Support Nationwide 90 FM, the station that informs, entertains, and educates. Visit patreon.com/Nationwide News Network. That's patreon.com/Nationwide News Network. Nationwide Family Club, where you are family, because we see you as family.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is...
It's 6:28. Welcome back, listeners, viewers. It's time for the nation's business. I'm Siobhan Campbell, and we are now touching on a topic, just some news in not too long ago. The government of Jamaica has ended its medical cooperation program with Cuba. The move was announced through a statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs just this afternoon. It says it has taken the decision to discontinue the long-standing deployment of medical professionals in the public health sector by the government of Cuba. This, it says, is because neither governments were able to agree on the terms and conditions of a new technical cooperation arrangement. The previous agreement expired in February 2023. There's no mention of the call by the U.S. government last year for the similar programs across the Caribbean to be axed. The call came as U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio labeled the Cuban medical missions as exploitative, depriving the professionals of fair wages and freedom. Foreign Affairs Minister Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith says in the interest of continuity, the government has indicated its willingness to engage these medical professionals on an individual basis in keeping with local labor laws. Well, to discuss this further and the possible impacts of the decision, we are joined by President of the Medical Association of Jamaica, that's Professor Marvin Reed, and political commentator Kevin O'Brien Chang. Good evening, gentlemen.
Hi, everybody. Good evening.
Good evening, Professor Reed. Good evening, Kevin. So, you first up, Professor Reed. This announcement by the government that the Cuban medical missions are to come to an end, at least for the time being, do you see a potential impact to healthcare or the delivery of healthcare here in Jamaica?
Well, yes. I think that goes without saying, because the reason why the Cubans are here in the first place is to fill in needed gaps or gaps that were identified in the service delivery for health within the country. So clearly the abrupt termination of this kind of a service delivery will mean that there has to be some pivot within the Ministry of Health to fill those gaps. The extent to which that pivot has occurred, I'm unclear, because I'm not sure to what extent appropriate time has been given or notice has been given to allow the ministry to pivot accordingly. So I anticipate that there may be some dislocation in the health system because of the termination of the agreement.
Based on what you're suggesting, then, you did not have any advance notice of this taking place. I don't know to what level there is communication between the Ministry of Health and the Medical Association, but I'm assuming you had no idea this was coming down.
It has been a surprise to me. I first learned of it based on the call I received from Nationwide, so I wasn't aware it was coming.
And just to give understanding to our listeners, to what extent is the Cuban medical mission embedded in the Jamaica healthcare system? How many professionals are we talking about?
Well, I don't have the exact numbers. So broadly speaking, as you know, the Jamaica health system has two main components. It has a public health system, which is really your health centers and your hospitals, your public hospitals, and it has a private system, which basically consists of private practitioners. The medical program here, the Jamaica medical program, was primarily designed to fill gaps within the public health system for service delivery. Now, what one can say is that where most of the gap occurred and has been exacerbated over the last few years has really been due to the migrations of certain categories of health workers, in particular, or nurses.
Yes.
And even within the nursing ranks, the major deficiencies have always been the specialized nursing and the more senior nurses. Those are the ones that we tend to have the deficiency in. There's a smaller component of the program which involves training. In that part of it, you'd have Jamaican students going to Cuba to participate in training for various health professionals, but they're a smaller part of the program. The main part was really in the provision of what we consider to be specialized healthcare delivery through the public sector. I think the most famous component of it that the average Jamaican would identify with has to do with the eye program.
Yes, I just did a quick check, and it seems at last check last year, about in July of last year, it was 88 doctors and about 199 nurses, about 300 individuals who made up the Cuban medical mission at the time. And speaking, Professor Reed, this matter of those specialized missions in terms of eye care, dentistry, that the Cuban government would sometimes send over their professionals to engage in one-off care for patients. I'm assuming that also will be coming to an end.
That's correct. So that based on the readings of the notices that I've seen, it would seem to be that there's been no agreement on those issues. So yes. That's my reading of the scenario as well.
Oh, okay. And Kevin, I brought you on here for the political aspect of this matter. I don't want to trouble the good doctor, but I brought you on here for the political realities surrounding this. There was no mention, I should point out, of the pressure placed by the U.S. government through Secretary of State Marco Rubio to have these missions come to an end in the Caribbean region. But do you see the underpinnings of that in this statement?
Well, we don't know, but President Donald Trump is a very unpredictable man. And I just want to say one thing. When a rabbit and a lion fight, right? What happens to the rabbit?
I don't think the rabbit has any business in that fight.
Yes, the rabbit gets eaten. America is 330 million people, the most richest, most powerful country in the world in history. We are under 3 million. We're not exactly a rich country. Our defenses we never have prepared for anybody invading us or bombing us. So, if you were the Jamaican government and your choice was making America angry or making Cuba angry, which would be the rational choice?
I think that would be up to the government to answer, Kevin. I don't know if I can answer that question.
Well, as I said, anybody can add 2 plus 2. But first of all, let us couple things clarify. Cuba, the Cuban government, and the Cuban people are 2 different things. The Cuban government has been a military dictatorship since 1959 when it took over. 67 years. People with no free elections, no rule of law, is arbitrary, they arrest who they want, and no freedom of speech. Another thing is, Cuba is not sending these people for free. Jamaica is not a freeness thing. They get paid. And I've been reading a bit about it, and I don't know what the situation is in Jamaica, but many places they get like 90% of the money goes to the government. I remember going to Cuba, this is 30 years ago, a long time, but our tour guide was a doctor. He made much more money as a tour guide than as a doctor. So people must disabuse themselves of the concept that, Cuba is helping us out for free. No, Jamaica pays for these people, and most of the money, as I said, my understanding is, does not go to the individuals themselves. Okay? So I just want to clarify those things. A lot of people have this misconception, Cuba is helping us out for nothing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to bring you back in here, Professor Reed, on the matter of the government suggesting that they'll try to at least retain these professionals through individually reaching out to them and offering them contracts here in Jamaica. I don't know to what extent that you've engaged with these Cuban professionals. Do they show an interest to stay here on the island outside of the requirements placed on them through their own government?
Well, I suspect that you will have individuals who would have that desire, but I would wish to just say one component of that. And that has to do with the registration. So any doctor who wishes to practice with, or any health professional who wishes to practice in Jamaica has to be registered by the requisite authorities. So in Jamaica, for doctors, it's the medical council. Doctors who are coming in from outside as part of programs often have special registration. So, and that registration usually covers them to work within the establishment that they are being imported. So even during post-Melissa, all the individuals who came into work as part of that disaster response had to have some form of special registration and would have some restrictions affixed to those registrations. So it's just not a matter of saying that the individuals may be engaged privately based on their wishes for the duration of the contract. There's also this whole issue as to what kind of registration they currently have and how they're going to go about having that changed to allow them to practice outside of the initial constraints of their employment. So it's a little bit more nuanced than that statement would make it be. And so, you know, we will be watching to see exactly how that plays out.
Quite a bit there to navigate, truly. But what about the soundings by the Minister of Health not too long ago that we might look to elsewhere to fill these gaps that could potentially open as a result of the exodus of the Cuban mission, such as Nigeria and other places? Have you seen anything of fruition coming from that?
All right, so the short answer is what the facts are on the ground. The facts are on the ground is that the Cuban medical mission was really a process that's a process to enable us to fill gaps. There still are gaps within the health system in terms of its service delivery model. If you remove those, you have to have another plan as to how it is that you're going to replace them.
Yes.
You can either replace them in one of two ways. You can either ramp up training of locals, or you can import to fill the gap. Where the gap is at the level of specialization, and therefore training those is a medium-term objective. You can't train enough consultants to fill the gap for tomorrow. That will take 7, 8, 10 years to fruition. So the short-term response is that you would have to import. If you can't import from Cuba, you have to import from other places. And so going to our African neighbors, going to the Philippines, going wherever you can get the talent is really what you're going to have to do.
Professor Reed? Professor Reed? Oh dear, it seems that we've lost the professor. And I understand we've also lost Kevin O'Brien. We'll try to get them back. But listeners, as you heard there from Professor Reed, quite a bit of difficult waters to navigate there in terms of potentially either keeping those Cuban doctors and other medical professionals that could potentially be leaving the island as a result of the axing of that medical program. And even then, if we are not able to do that, just simply replacing them through other areas and other means will prove their own difficulties. So the news coming there that, yes, those Cuban medical mission that has supported Jamaica's health sector now for, I think, years, if not decades, is going to come to an end. The government suggests that this is as a result of a inability by the two governments to come to an agreement. But I mean, I think we can speculate that that inability to come to an agreement has some level to do with the US government putting pressure on that program across not just Jamaica, but across the Caribbean region as well. I understand we have you back with us, Kevin?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Kevin, I want to put it to you. What does this mean for potentially other programs that we have in place with the Cuban government? And on top of that, what could it potentially mean for other areas of ire that the U.S. has essentially pointed out to the Caribbean that they would like addressed as the bigger player in the region?
Well, from what I understand, and as I said, I don't have a full understanding, but from what I've read, the U.S.'s main problem with the program is that they are not being paid. The individuals are not really getting the money. It's going to the government.
Yes.
Some are saying it's like slave labor. I'd go that far. But clearly, it has to do with human rights, the rights of individuals to get paid for their labor. You know? Listen, I think Dr. Andrew Holness, last week or the week before, gave an excellent speech clarifying the situation. While Cuba is our nearest neighbor geographically, so we want good for them. We want good for Cuba. We want good for everybody, but especially people close to you, Cuba and Haiti. And the reality is that Cuba is not a free society.
Yes.
It is a military dictatorship. The people have no say in choosing their leaders. They have no freedom of speech, and the rule of law is arbitrary. They can lock up whoever they want, the authorities. And as Dr. Andrew Holness said, we are a democracy. Jamaica is a free country, proud and free. We would like to see our neighbors proud and free also. And also, which I agree with him, a country will only ever prosper in a free state of freedom. Free markets, free politics, you know, freedom of speech. And so I feel sorry for the Cuban people. The Cuban government, no, because I'm a Democrat. I believe in democracy. And if it's good enough for Jamaica, it's good enough for our neighbors. Can't understand these people who are defending this regime, claiming, they must defend the Cuban regime and all that. Why would I defend a dictatorship? I am a Democrat. Now, Cuba did some good in the past, let's be clear. Like they were in the forefront of fighting apartheid. Give them their props in some areas. But in the end, the Cuban people have no choice of changing their leaders. That is the bottom line. And CARICOM, I am ashamed of some of the members not defending our democracy. CARICOM, the 12 countries in CARICOM, independent, as a region, is the most democratic region in the world, save for maybe Western Europe. We are an example to the world. That is what we should be standing on. Our wonderful democratic record. Only one CARICOM country has ever had a non-democratic to the government. Grenada, the revolution, when they took over and shot Maurice Bishop, right? This is what Jamaica should be saying loud and proud. We want democracy to spread as much as we can. Yes, people say, what about China and Russia? Well, they're far away from us. They're much bigger than us. We can't affect anything there, but we can push for democracy for the Cuban people, and we should want the Cuban people to have the rights that we so proudly have. How many Jamaicans do you know that praise Cuba and all that? How many have emigrated there? No, they couldn't live there because you have no freedom. I visited there. It was utterly depressing. The people were just depressed. So as I say, we should want good for the Cuban people, but we should not be defending any military dictatorship. That is where I put it.
I have one more to put to you, Kevin, and then we'll wrap up with Professor Reid for the final word. But the matter of the solidarity that we've shown with the Cuban government and the Cuban people in the parliament, that annual resolution calling for an end to the embargo, and we've supported similar resolutions at the level of the United Nations. Do you see that continuing?
Why should it? Why are you defending a military dictatorship when the people are crying for freedom? I had a few years ago there demonstrations. What happened? They lock all of them up, beat them up, and lock them up. As I said, we must distinguish between the Cuban government and the Cuban people. You said it a while ago. You put them together. They are different. The Cuban government is not the same as the Cuban people because they have no legitimacy. The Cuban people have never voted for this regime. So we need to distinguish. Jamaicans need to distinguish and say, look, we want good for Cuba. Do we want it to continue as a dictatorship indefinitely? 67 years, the people have no freedom. No Jamaican could live under those conditions. Why would we want the Cuban people to live under those conditions?
Understood. And Professor Reed, I wanted to allow you unfortunately you cut before you could finish your point in terms of pivoting to other regions in terms of bringing in those professionals into the healthcare system. You weren't able to finish your point.
Right. So quickly, what I just was pointing out is that where the deficiencies are usually at the specialist level. And so if it is that you can't get it from Cuba, then you have to get it from wherever you can get it at a price that we can afford. So if that is in Africa, that is in Philippines, so be it. But that's essentially what you need to continue the gap, because you can't train the specialists fast enough to fill the gap.
Understood. So regardless of how we attempt to play this out, you see that there will be potential problems going forward.
Yes, because the reason why they're here is to fulfill a need. So if they're no longer fulfilling that need, you will have to be able to find other strategies to fill that need.
Understood. That is Professor Marvin Reed. He's the president of the Medical Association of Jamaica, and we also had with us political commentator Kevin O'Brien Chang. Thank you both for joining us this evening. I should point out, listeners, we attempted to get in contact with the opposition spokesperson on health, Dr. Alfred Dawes. He had suggested he would be able to join us, but I assume the Standing Finance Committee has held him up, so he was not able to do so. But that's where we have to leave this segment. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
We go to Around the World next after these messages, listeners.
KFC, my mind studying. Right now I'm thinking chicken, famous bowl, chicken box combo and popcorn chicken. KFC on my mind, it's on my brain. Great flavor, great taste, like every day. Gave me that prize.
The KFC value menu always has you thinking chicken. Get the chicken box combo for just $680, or get the famous bowl combo for $620, or popcorn chicken combo for $630. KFC, it's finger licking good.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
The Commission of Strata Corporations is here to help, but we need your help too. That's why corporations are required to file annual returns. Annual returns include minutes of AGMs and EGMs, names and addresses of executive committee members, certificate of insurance, and completed forms and fees. Help us, help you. File your annual returns today. Visit reb.gov.jm for more information.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business. This station raised me. It gave me a voice. And if Nationwide has ever meant something to you, come on in. Join the Nationwide 90 FM Family Club today on Patreon.
That's right, listeners. It's time for Around the World, and today we take a trip back to the United States, where President Donald Trump has fired Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem on Thursday, making her the first cabinet secretary to leave her post and capping off a tumultuous year in which she oversaw his increasingly unpopular mass deportation agenda. Alongside the announcement of Noem's ouster, Trump said he would tap Senator Mark Wayne Mullin to replace her, elevating a fiercely loyal first-term senator. He added that Noem, who he said has served us well, will take over a new role called Envoy for the Shield of the Americas. He described the position as one that will lead the nation's new security initiative in the Western Hemisphere. Here's more from NBC News.
With more breaking news, President Trump posting on his Truth Social platform that he has fired Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and that he will nominate Oklahoma Senator Mark Wayne Mullin to become the next DHS Secretary. The president writing, quote, "I am pleased to announce that the highly respected United States Senator from the great state of Oklahoma, Mark Wayne Mullin, will become the United States Secretary of Homeland Security effective March 31st, 2026. I want to bring in Chief White House Correspondent Peter Alexander. Peter, when I spoke with the president just a few weeks ago, he still had a lot of confidence in Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, pointing to the border, but something has changed over the last few weeks, and what was it?
Well, it's interesting, Tom, you make that point. So this news, I think you can say, is stunning, but it's not surprising. We know the president has grown increasingly frustrated by Kristi Noem's performance as the Department of Homeland Security secretary, most notably after a series of events that took place over the course of the last several days, where she was testifying before Congress. She had been asked a series of questions specifically about the role she played in approving contracts, and notably one, a $220 million ad campaign that was used to encourage immigrants to this country to self-deport. The senator from Louisiana, John Kennedy, said on that issue the president was, in his words, quote, pissed. During the course of the questioning, Noem told Kennedy that the president knew about her decision to approve the ad campaign contracts. You can imagine that did not sit well with the White House, certainly with the president as well. And so that appears to have been the tipping point in this moment. There had previously been some frustration by the president as it related to Noem for her handling of the operations, the immigration enforcement operations that had taken place in Minnesota. So what happens now? The president did not make clear in the course of this post who serves as Secretary of Homeland Security right now. Does Kristi Noem serve in that post until Mark Wayne Mullin can be confirmed? The president in his post said that Mullin will become the next Homeland Security Secretary. Obviously, he needs to be confirmed first. He is a popular Republican. It does not appear, with Republicans maintaining a majority in the Senate, that would be a problem, but it doesn't happen with a snap of the finger, as the president indicated on March 31st. So there are a lot of details still here to be ironed out. And Tom, notably, you talked about your conversation with the president airing in part during the Super Bowl and the week leading up to it. I was revisiting part of the comments that the president had you at that time. You asked him specifically about Kristi Noem and if he had confidence in her, and he really didn't speak about Noem specifically, but about the way he and his administration has handled the border. Your interview may have given us the first sort of sense of some of the frustrations that were beginning to build.
The NBC there. Well, what's next for Senator Mullin? NBC News' Gabe Gutierrez has details on the path ahead for the senator and what could have played a factor into the president's decision.
And Gabe, can you tell us a little more about Senator Mullin of Oklahoma, obviously a Republican? What happens once he leaves the Senate?
Well, a lot of questions on what happens next. It's just happened a short time ago. He, of course, is certainly aligned with the president. Certainly known for border security. Unclear exactly what conversations he may have had with President Trump over the last several days. Perhaps we're still working that out. We do know that there had been a lot of speculation about whether Kristi Noem would be able to hang on to her job after this week's testimony, again, being grilled by not just Democrats, but even some Republicans. But again, we're still trying to work out the timeline here. The president saying that on March 31st, Mullin will take over as Secretary of Homeland Security, but that requires a Senate confirmation. Still, Mullin himself, though, a lot of relationships as a sitting United States senator, so that may have been part of the president's calculation here to try and pick Mullin, someone that could be confirmed by the Senate in short order.
There you have it, listeners. Kristi Noem out, Mark Wayne Mullin in. And I think the lesson really here is, and it's ironic, I'm going to make a comparison between Donald Trump and the old dictators such as Joseph Stalin and Chairman Mao. There are two rules when you want to survive a regime like this. The first rule is you make sure that you kiss up to the boss. And the second rule is you don't embarrass the boss. I think that is the most simplistic way to describe how you survive in a Trump orbit. You kiss up to him and you don't embarrass the boss. And I think Kristi Noem failed on both those. Even if we want to question her competence, and there is so many questions to ask about her competence, but I think it's not a matter of competence when it comes to Donald Trump. It's simply a matter of you don't embarrass the boss. And she failed in that department. Well, listeners, we have to leave it there. Thank you for joining me for Nationwide at 5. Remember, the comments section is up next with Mahiri Stewart and Shaloy Smikle. Thanks to our super producer this evening, Nora Gay Banton, pulling not a double shift, a triple shift. Thank you so much, Nora, for sticking it out from 6 o'clock this morning straight up till 7 o'clock in the evening. Thanks to our super bugs, Andrew the Glenn Anderson, for being the technical operator, and our capable editor, Carol Powell, who in my opinion leads the best news and production department in the country. I am Siobhan Campbell, and as usual, it has been a pleasure and a privilege to serve you this evening. Have a good evening.
Every day, Jamaicans have